Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon,
sir. Good afternoon, sir.
I'm honored to be invited by the Director Engineer Ali Gopa to make this presentation. And I've been following all the presentation right from the beginning. I think it's the last two that I missed, but certainly I'll watch the recorded versions. Director, sir, I'm actually presenting from Kano. I traveled to Kazauri. So I have to, I'm currently at ICT Center in UK to present. After presentation, then I'll move to
Thank you very much, sir. Wallahi, we quite appreciate.
Yeah, because
so
of the
presenters, please give a round of applause for this commitment. Thank you very much, sir, on behalf of them.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate your efforts.
So what I'm asked to talk on is effective presentation and communication of research findings. Sorry, the date I have there is actually wrong. It's supposed to be 8th of May. Okay. Sorry. I'm sure most of us are familiar with this story of Eureka, of Archimedes' principle. After researching rigorously for a long time, and he was unable to find an answer to his problem. But while taking his bath, he discovered the solution to his problem, and he ran out of his bath naked, they said, shouting Eureka. Eureka means he has found it. So in essence, findings are our Eurekas. After a rigorous research, it is expected that at the end of the day, there must be findings that will come. Now, the outline of my presentation. Sorry, I'm having, okay. The outline of my presentation, first we'll find out what research finding is. And then why is it important that researchers should have findings? It will be followed by the types of research findings. There are types of research findings. We'll discuss them. And then we'll equally discuss, is research finding the same as a result? We'll show the difference if there is, between what is a finding and what is a result. And then we then present how to effectively present and communicate your findings to make meaning. Then it will culminate in the pinnacle of research, the application of research findings. That is the height of research. And then we'll conclude. But before concluding, we'll also discuss pitfalls we should avoid while presenting our research findings. Now, we'll start. Research finding is not a standalone topic. It is linked with other parts of the research. Now, if I remember very well, my Professor Abdul Salam, when presented a typical structure of a research paper. Usually you have the introduction followed by the literature review. Some journals will merge introduction and literature results with discussion. Others will ask you to have results separately, discussion separately. And then we'll have conclusion and recommendation, and then followed by references. Now, this is a typical structure of a research paper. So our focus will be on number 4. That will be the focus, so that we contextualize what we are about delving into. I hope my voice is clear, Director. I hope you are hearing me very well.
Yes, sir, we're hearing you, sir.
Audible, sir.
Yes, sir. We're hearing
Yes, sir.
you, sir.
Okay, good.
We're hearing you.
Good. Fine.
We're hearing you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, there are other phrases that are used for research findings. It is good to go over them so that when you hear them being mentioned, you don't get confused. That why are they using different words or phrases? One of the words used is study results. Some will call it study results. Some other will call it study outcomes, which is at the end of the day, what is it that is the culmination of the research? Some will call it research conclusion, and others will call it discoveries. What has the research discovered? And then finally, some will call it research output. Now, all this, if you hear it being mentioned anyway, is still referring to research findings. Now, what is a research finding? The research findings are core insights derived from the study. Mark this word, it is derived from the study. As we go on through the presentation, when we are discussing research pitfalls, finding pitfalls, you'll see where some people have insights not from the study and call it findings. Findings must be derivable from the study itself. And research findings are the key study discoveries. You remember in the phrases we said can be used to refer to research finding are discoveries. So these are discoveries that the researcher is able to find from the data he has gathered. And they reveal insights that support or challenge knowledge. Your research finding could support previous knowledge because no knowledge is an island. That is why research is defined as research. You see, it is combination of two words. Research, meaning that somebody has searched, you are researching, you are doing it again. So it means you are building your knowledge upon what had been done before. So your research finding will be to support existing knowledge or to challenge knowledge. It's possible that the data you gathered will challenge what is previously known. And we've seen that in several researches that have been done, that this is the norm, the knowledge that had been accepted, and then a new research comes in and said, no, there's a new perspective to what is previously known. So a new insight that support or challenge knowledge is a finding. And then very importantly, your research findings should answer research questions, please. We shouldn't have our research questions separately, and then when we come to find it, we see that they are not tied to the research objectives and research questions. Research findings must emanate from your research question. Yes, as I said, research findings are always tied to objectives of the study. You cannot have one aspect as your objectives and an entirely different direction of findings. It will make the findings not linked to the objectives. Now, why are such findings important? They are important because they offer critical evidence. It is evidence-based to support the researchers' findings. What you are able to find out provides evidence, not emotion, but data-driven evidence that is called empirical study. It is empirical because it is based on evidence. That's why research academic papers are different from a tabloid. All these newspapers that will wake up without researching, or the social media and just churn out every nonsense. Academic papers are based on evidence, critically interrogated. And then they serve as a basis for establishing facts. You know, you verify, maybe you have a hypothesis, you use data and facts to verify that. We all know that hypotheses are intelligent guess this. You guess intelligently. And then you use your data to verify and validate the study's objective. And research findings are equally important because it will demonstrate that the goals that was set by the researcher had been achieved. That you set a goal. Hello, somebody's making noise. Okay, you set a goal, and those are your objectives, the aim and the objective, and then you are able to get to your goal. You met your goal. And in academic and professional circles, strong research findings enhance credibility. It makes your paper very credible if your findings are, you know, thorough and strong. In addition, research findings shows that somebody has gone through rigorous and grounded data analysis. Because research findings emanate from systematic procedure in academic cycle. The rigor is very important. The analysis is important. So your findings, it's like an uproot from the data you gathered, and it increases the acceptance of and recognition in the community of academics. And when findings are presented clearly, you know, and backed by sound evidence, it gives like a solid foundation for future research. In fact, most researchers you see usually recommend that yes, my work is limited to this aspect, but it is recommended that somebody goes and research on another aspect that I have not touched. For example, the research I conducted is on indoor environmental quality. And after having my findings, one of my recommendations was that since I've dealt with indoor, somebody should deal with outdoor environmental quality. So when research is backed clearly by evidence, it, you know, as a foundation, somebody now working on external indoor quality will have predicated his research on a research that had been done on the internet. get real life problems, to solve real life problems. So a very good research finding will see that will aid in decision making by either policy makers or either scientists or the public or wherever. So a good research finding will lead to a decision that is based on a credible research. Now we discuss the types of research findings. There are two types of research findings. Research findings can be of two types. There's the research finding that is based on the origin. It is based on the source of your data. And then there's research findings that is based on the nature. What type of data do you have? You know, the type of data you have, the origin or source of your data will determine the type of research findings that is being discussed. Now, research findings that is based on the source, on the origin, are categorized into two. There's the secondary source, which is a source from previous knowledge. And then there's the primary source. That's the findings that emanate from the data of the actual research you are carrying out. We'll discuss this in detail. And then research finding that is based on the nature of the data. There's the qualitative research finding, and there's the quantitative research findings. This was discussed extensively when I listened to, I think it was the Director of Academic Planning and Director of Research of Sokoto, or that presented on what is quantitative, what is qualitative. And actually there's the mixed method that uses quantitative and qualitative. So research findings, you can see, can either be based on the origin, which is the secondary or primary source, or it could be based on the nature of the research, whether it is qualitative or quantitative. Now, the qualitative findings, as qualitative research is concerned, is talking about how and why that give birth to a phenomenon, the perception, you know, the themes, the patterns. You find out the meanings of this through interviews, observations, focus group discussions, and things like that. So qualitative data is talking about how a phenomena is happening and then why. So the findings are based on the how and why, qualitative findings, just like qualitative studies is. And now the quantitative findings, as the name implies, is derived from surveys, experiments, and statistical analysis. Now this is talking about how much or how many. You know, as the name is, how many is talking about numbers, how much is talking about quantity. So the findings can be qualitative, which is talking about how and why, or quantitative, which is talking about how many or how much. And then the secondary, as I said, there are findings that are derived from previously collected studies that have been done before. You know, you refer to them, and it's called a secondary finding. While the primary findings emerge from the researcher's own data collection, the data you collect, those findings you derive from your data are primary findings. And the data you got from previous knowledge, you use it to support your stand or to challenge the secondary findings. One of the pitfalls we should avoid is when presenting your findings, please give importance to your researcher's own data collection findings, data that emanated from your primary source. Don't delve too much on the secondary or previously collected studies thing, because the primary findings are the ones that relate to the work in question. And then the quantitative and qualitative, they give different perspectives. The direction, the focus of the qualitative, as we said, is delving on how and why, and the quantitative on the how much and how many. The primary and secondary findings strengthen the depth and breadth of the research. Because if you just depend on your primary source of data without relating it to the secondary, it will look as if you are working alone. But when you link it up with studies that have been done in the same area, but then you say whether the findings you have are in consonance with what had been done before, or it is challenging what had been done before. Now, while interpreting findings, please, you should just highlight key findings, because you may discover that there are other lesser important findings that you may find in your result. If it is not part of your objectives, please don't waste time on those findings that are not key, because you may discover that the intent and your focus at the beginning will change when you go into the research. Once your objectives and research questions are very clear and straightforward, if you find other lesser key findings, of course, note them, but let them not be your strength. That is why it is called key findings. Or in some school, they'll call it major findings, meaning that there are minor findings, but your concentration should be on the key results, the key findings of the research. So while interpreting, give credence, give much time, give importance to the key results emanating from your primary source. And then analysis of data and recognizing patterns. You know, analysis, what you analyze helps you to understand the trends, the correlations, or the differences within data. So, you know, when that data is just given in its raw form, it does not make any meaning. It is analysis that will show you the pattern that will help you in drawing conclusions to your research. So while the raw data is important, but analysis is what brings out what it means. Then it's important to ensure the validity and reliability in interpreting your findings. You know, validity confirms that the findings genuinely reflect the data, meaning that what you found, as I just said at the beginning, is genuinely related to your data. That gives your findings validity and accuracy. If what you found out is not emanating from your data, then it will not be recognized as a valid finding. It will be termed an emotional finding. I've seen a presentation where somebody was presenting on a very thorny issue, and the lady was so emotional in the presentation without any valid data. And she was told right there and then that, look, research is not about emotions. It's about bringing data and then building or having analyzed the data, then you bring out your findings that is based on collected data. Even though you are very emotional about this work, but it is not predicated upon any data. So, and emotions cannot have a place in academic cycle. So you need to have genuine data that will help you in having a valid research finding. Now this, please, are we okay as we are moving? If I'm too fast or if I'm too slow or if there's a problem, let me know, please. Are we okay with the presentation?
We are okay, sir.
We are very much okay, Doctor. Just keep on going.
Okay, sir. You don't need to ask us.
Oh, thank you very much.
We are okay. We are okay with
you,
sir. Thank you very
much.
much.
Now, we come to our findings same as results, because when you say research findings, some institutions will say results. Do they mean the same thing? Now, some researchers use them interchangeably. We use findings as results, results as finding. However, these are matters of opinion anyway, but some school of thought actually tie findings to qualitative studies, because they are of the opinion that findings imply some level of interpretation and or insight from raw data. So it's usually saved for discussion and conclusions. So they actually relate findings to result of qualitative study. How we get that? It is the result of qualitative studies they refer to as findings, while results from quantitative studies are seen as direct outcome of the research method. So it is it emanates from the field or experiment. So simply what they are saying is findings in some school of thought are related to interpretation of qualitative data. You know, unlike in sciences where if you put a table, people can infer and understand what the table is all about. In qualitative studies, you'll have to explain and interpret your findings for it to make meaning. Well, as I said, these are understandings of some school of thoughts, but some indeed use them interchangeably, meaning that they are the same. But don't be surprised when you meet some scholars saying that findings should be applied to qualitative studies and results for quantitative studies. Now, presentation and communication of research findings. It is very, very crucial that readers understand, readers or listeners or the audience understand what the researcher is presenting. If I'm sure there are people in communication, whatever technology here. If somebody will present and then it is not comprehended by the audience, then he has not communicated. That's why intermittently I'll ask you whether you are hearing me or you are understanding. Otherwise, I'll not be communicating. So it's important that the audience understand what the presenter is saying, and you engage the audience. If it is not understood, then communication and presentation wouldn't have taken place. And this will come from a well-structured presentation. And sometimes, you know, they said a picture speaks 1,000 words. There's a class I was taking. Sorry if I'm too inclined towards the sciences. My field is architecture. So maybe the examples I'll be giving are more of quantitative aspect. Pardon me, qualitarians. There's a course I was taking. I tried explaining to the students this steel structure. Most of them have not seen it being constructed. They are used to, wooden members as a roof structure. And then I was lucky there was a site that was constructing the steel structure. So I took them to the site, and lo and behold, all of them also, is this what you are saying, referring to on the board in that sketch? In fact, they understood what I was unable to make them understand in the class. So visuals ensure help in clarifying issues. And then accessible language. This is equally important. When a researcher is verbose and uses words that people don't even understand, then it will hinder comprehension from the audience. As much as possible, we'll come to understanding your audience. You should first understand who you are presenting to. If you are presenting to experts, there's the type of language you use. And if you are presenting to non-experts, there is equally a type of language you'll use. But the most important is for the audience to understand what you are communicating. Now, we need to have a logical order. Don't get tired if I keep on repeating and narrating that your findings should be directly linked to your research questions. It is very important because many studies have this penchant for having objectives going towards Lagos and the research findings going towards Kano. They should all be focused towards the same direction. You must link your research findings to your research questions. Now, like the point I made before on using visuals, visual helps in emphasizing. Use charts, use graphs, use tables, and then you highlight key data points to make complex information easier to grasp. When you use this presentation forms, it helps in making easier the understanding of your findings. Now, as we had earlier mentioned, when you are presenting and communicating research findings, it should be research itself should lead to findings. What you have on the left of your screen is the rigor you go through in the research. And then you can see the path is not straight. The path from the rigor of research to where the bulb lights, the path you take in coming to your findings. And the bulb is your finding. So if the bulb is not lighted, it means the research has not gone through the rigor it is supposed to go. It has not passed through the path it is supposed to have passed, so that the light will be lighted, as our findings. For example, in the use of visuals in communicate, you may spend hours explaining to somebody that the Eskimos build their houses with ice block, snow blocks. But somebody that has not been to Greenland or where these Eskimos are may not understand. But when you show him like the picture above, it easily becomes understandable that these are houses that are built with snow blocks. So visuals communicate very well than long grammar and sentences. Also, for example, this showing the environmental and comfort parameters. But you can see it is so chopped up that you may not even easily understand. So the point I'm trying to make here is you as the researcher should know the best method of communicating to the audience for them to understand. Like what we have here is too esoteric to make any meaning. But the data we have here, when presented in a table, you see, could be easily understood. That we have schools, and then their environmental parameters, their comfort parameters, all given. And then what you will be most interested in is the average at the bottom. It's not those figures that will make meaning of. But when it is shown in this manner, you may not easily understand it as you will on the table. And the reverse is also true. There are other data that in a table will not make much meaning. But when it is shown graphically, it will make meaning. So you see, as a researcher, you will have to master and understand your data so that you know the best way to present it. There's no single way of presenting data. You should look at it. Is it tabulated form that will make meaning, or is it the graphical form that will make meaning? This is also true for qualitative studies. You look at it, of course, most qualitative studies, come in words, but there are some that you can use visuals to make it more, to have more meaning than words. So you should judge and see the best one that will communicate better for you. And this is, part of the mastery in presentation, knowing the best form of the visuals to use that will communicate what you actually meant. Now, the same, I just have this so that I call your attention. When presenting in PowerPoint, please, this is the best way to present your data, not this.
Please mute your mic, please, or we are going to remove you.
No, don't remove it. Okay.
Go on,
so
sir.
when presenting in PowerPoint, because most of the presentations of findings, or all presentations usually are in PowerPoint, right? So this is the right way of presenting tables in PowerPoint. This is not the right way of presenting tables in PowerPoint. And even in text, you only have the top line and the bottom line, and then a line under the title, the headings there, air velocity rate, a line under it. Just like this is the right way of presenting tables, even in the text. You are not expected to have all the horizontal and vertical lines in presentation of tables, please. This is the right way of presenting in the text. Okay, now this is an example of equally a table that is easily understandable. When you have a table that has so many parameters included, equally it may not make meaning. That's why I said it is based on the researcher's discretion to find out the best way that he will communicate to his audience. Now this is also another presentation of results. Now looking at the results, the findings on the right, even without reading the measurements, the 50, the 35, the 11, 2 points, you see that 50, just by mere looking, that it is higher than 35, and 35 is higher than 11. This visual helps in communicating findings. You can see the table. The table on the left was used to generate this figure. So sometimes you see figures speak better than tables, and sometimes table will be better than figures. So it is your discretion. Now, by the way, please, we should know that it is not allowed in research that you have.
No, I think the essence was that since there is a particular money for a particular project that they are expecting, so their money is coming.
So somebody is talking about money. We should hear him.
Man Abdullah, please mute your mic. Please. No. Go on, sir.
Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, in researches, in the text, you are not allowed to have both tables and the figures. You choose one. I made that mistake in some years back in presentation. I was seriously rebuked. You don't present tables and figures at the same time. You choose which best communicates your findings. I just showed this for illustration purpose. So in the text, you choose if it is table that will communicate your findings better, use table. If it is figures, use figures without the table. I hope I'm clear. Also, like this pie chart, it also communicates very well. If it clearly shows the pie of building and energy having 73% and other like waste having 5%. Even if you don't have that 5 between 2 to 73, it is very clear that the part that have the highest or the smallest is clear. So it is good that you use such figures to communicate your findings easily. Now, you remember I was saying you should know your audience. The people you are presenting to are very important in communicating your findings. Some presentations could be to the non-experts, some will be to experts, some will be for a mix of two. So you'll have to know who you are presenting to, so you have a reasonable balance of how to present your findings. The language of presentation to experts should be different when presenting to non-experts. When you are presenting to experts, you should use the terms that is very well known to them. It helps in giving them confidence that yes, okay, that yes, in academic circle, we use these technical terms. You shouldn't present like your language shouldn't be pedestrian. It should have some technical terms when you are presenting to experts. When you are presenting to non-experts, please bring down the terms to what people will understand. You simplify the terms for non-experts because, as you obviously said, the most important thing is for the audience to understand what you are saying. If they do not understand, then you will not have communicated. So you reasonably use technical terms. And as I said, don't be verbose because some academics, I attended one presentation where the presenter, I don't know whether he wants to impress the audience, he was using, all these big words. And the one professor name is saying, he wants to show us he knows English. We'll show him today. Don't overdo it. Reasonably, use technical terms that are known, but don't overuse them when presenting. Otherwise, it will work against you. Now it is your responsibility to balance when you have these two types of, you have experts, you have non-experts in your audience. So it is in your, you are the one to, have a balance. If you chip in some technical terms, chip in some simpler terms so that everyone will be carried along. A professor we were discussing, which told me in one of the countries, during presentation, people in the field will be there and people will be invited that are completely not from that field. And after the presentation, they'll ask those that are not in that field, do you understand what this man has said? If they don't understand, it means it's automatic failure. So it means while it is right to use technical terms, it is equally dangerous not to carry everyone along. I know in ABU, during PhD seminars, the coordinator will just give any of the people there, whether they are from that department or from a different department, to score the candidate. So communication is very important to the presenter, and you should very, very well know your audience so that you will carry them along. Now, you have to develop a very, very thick skin if you are a researcher, because there are situations where you do the right thing. For some people okay, some people will still criticize what you've done. So you should know that it's not possible to please everyone. Don't despair. I'm sure most of us here are academics and people are going through some studies of some sort. You should develop a very thick skin to criticism. Sometimes you might have done the right thing, but somebody probably has an issue with your supervisor, and if he cannot attack your supervisor, he will attack him to you. So you should please know this, that no, I've done the right thing. Why should, no. This is not just related to findings. In everything, whatever you do, people may still have things to say, but as much as possible, do what is right, right? Now we come to common pitfalls that we should avoid in presenting and reporting research findings. You see, I kept on saying you should tie your findings to your goal, which is your aim, and your objectives. If they are not tied very well, you may have problem in your objective. If your goal and objectives are not very clear, then your findings will equally have problem. This was presented, I'm sure, in one of our presentations here. But for the sake of, let me just say this. When you have an aim, which is the goal, it's just like saying my aim is to go to the stadium in Kaduna. That is my aim. Now, what is the objective? The objective are the things you need to do to get you to Kaduna. Maybe the first thing I should do is to go and buy fuel. That's my first objective. Take my car and move towards Kaduna. That's my second objective. Things like that, things that will you have to follow before you get to Kaduna are your objectives. But ultimately, your ultimate aim is to get to Kaduna, right? So if your aim is not very clear, you take your car without buying fuel, then it will stop on the way. Or instead of going towards Kaduna, your aim is to go to Kaduna Stadium to watch Real Madrid and Barcelona match. Sorry if there are fans that are still nursing the pain of Real Madrid. Is it Real Madrid or Barcelona that was beaten?
Now Barcelona, sir.
Yes, Barcelona, though. So see, instead of going towards Kaduna, you started going towards Kano. You know, it means your objective is not grounded, right? So the objective should be very clear and the goal very clear so that your findings will equally be clear. Now, another problem is poor planning. You know, some people, poor planning can lead to very, very poor findings. Poor planning has to do with, you take a research that you do not have the resources to undertake that research. It is poor planning. It is poor planning, and you will not get you can't find good findings because you don't have the resources to consciously and efficiently undertake that research. I remember that we were discussing with Dr. Mubarak. Okay, he presented yesterday. Is it yesterday or day before yesterday? You know, his research has so many chemicals that he has to buy. Zealousness. You know, you want to solve the problem of the world. My professor was telling me, if you solve all the problem of the world,
even if it is rough, give me.
What will your children and grandchildren solve? Just do things that planning has to do with when you have a research that will take so long. If you have to do it effectively, you will not have good findings because the time it will take for you to finish that work will be too much, except probably if it is a grant that will not mind, that is whose timeline is very important, that it takes years for it to be completed, then fine. But for academic purposes of PhD, masters, or journal presentation, you shouldn't have poor planning. You should plan things that you can undertake within a reasonable time. Then another thing that will lead to poor research pitfall we should avoid is inadequate sample. You know, you can't cut corners and think you'll reach your destination sometimes. You must have, that is why you have the sample table or the sample formula, so that your findings will be representative. You understand? You should contextualize your findings to, you know, the sample. If you have a small sample, it has problem of generalization. So adequate sample size will help in having a valid research findings. Then there are data dilemmas. Sometimes if data gets missing, or some people, you know, when I was doing my research, I was going to Sokoto, Zamfara. Somebody was telling me, why do you have to go through that? You can cook up data. And I was like shocked. This is an academic. Why would I cook data? If you do that, somehow, you know, you will miss something that will show that you are fake, and, you know, the people you are presenting to come to know. Please don't cook up data. Go to where data is and use the appropriate tools to get your data. Another data dilemma is that if your instruments are not what you should use in getting your data, you'll also have data dilemma. It's just like, for example, you have to use, let me just give the things that you'll understand. You are supposed to use a bulldozer to pack some sand into a tipper. Instead of using bulldozer as your instrument, now you are using shovel. You see that the instrument, even though it could scoop some sand, it took years before you fill up the tipper. Or even maybe instead of using a bulldozer, you are using a stick. You know, stick cannot scoop up the sand. So the data you are getting, if you don't use the right instrument, you'll have certainly data dilemma that will impact negatively on your findings. It is very, very important in research to be honest. You should be honest in what you do, and it will help you in a robust findings. And then there's the analytic error. Let's assume you've gotten your data the way you're supposed to get it. But, you know, as we said, when you analyze, it gives meaning to your data. Data in its raw form sometimes does not make any meaning. But when you analyze, it shows you a pattern. It shows you a trend. It shows you the relationship between the variables. So when you use a wrong analytic, when you use a wrong analytic method, then indeed you will find you'll get to a wrong research finding. I recommend that we please read. There's this book by Saunders that talks about research onion. He calls it. If it shows if this is the type of research you have, whether it is positivist or interpretivist, so it will tell you this is the type of analysis you should use for researches like this. I think that research onion is important. Maybe I'll post it to the director for others to see. It helps you indeed in knowing the type of analysis to use for a particular type of study. So when you have an analytic error, it will impact negatively on your research findings. Then also, so a pitfall that some of us fall into is the relationship between correlation and causation. When you have two variables, it's not always that it is causal. Okay, let me just clarify the difference. When you say a causation relationship, it means the relationship between A and B is A causes some effects on B. That if it's not telling you that A causes an impact on B. It is just telling you that there is a relationship between A and B. I hope this is clear. While causation type of relationship is that A causes B. So correlation and causation wrong conclusion. And then also incomplete reporting. If you've not reported your data completely, and then you go ahead and analyze, you know, the data you miss in analyzing will certainly affect your results, your findings. So you should ensure that I'm actually guilty of this. There's a research I was carrying out, and I discovered that there's a part of the data that after analysis is not making any sense to me. Well, let me tell you actually what happened. It has to do with thermal comfort. you know, I research on pupils in primary schools in a passive environment, meaning in an environment that does not have fun and things like that. So the comfort vote of those students was that they are feeling hot in that environment. But when we came to acceptability vote, you know, thermal vote, you say whether you are feeling cold, you are okay, or you are feeling hot. So most of the students say they are feeling hot. But when it came to acceptability vote, then most of the students said the environment is acceptable. Instead of saying it's not acceptable, most of them voted is acceptable. When I saw that, I thought, no, these children do not know. Maybe they are because they are kids, they don't understand that. And actually, I didn't use that data. But just last week, while going through a paper, I saw somebody in Indonesia reporting the same thing I discovered that I threw away. That he also took a study of, this time it is adults in classes in Indonesia that do not have fans and ACs. Their comfort vote, just like the one I discovered, was that they are feeling hot. But the acceptability vote is also saying that they've accepted the environment. And the reason he deduced was that it's because they have gotten used to that environment. So they have adapted to that environment. So because they don't have any option, they are not expecting light because they don't even have light. So the environment as it is, their body has accepted it. And I said, look at what I threw away. Somebody is making sense out of it. I'm going to do that research and continue. Now, also you should avoid overgeneralization. If your research is talking about, for example, you should contextualize your research, because if, for example, your research is in a climate that is in the desert, you cannot generalize it to an area that has snow or rainfall throughout the year. If your research is just done in, for example, in Kafanchan, you cannot generalize that and say the same thing, the findings you have in Kafanchan will be the same as the findings you'll have in Kano or somewhere else. So it's very important that you delimit your study when reporting your findings. You should contextualize it and specifically say this affects, this particular set of people or an environment, because there may be peculiarities which are different areas. There are a few researches that are applicable throughout the world, that you do a research in one place and it's the same thing in other places. There are very few researches that are so. So you should avoid overgeneralization. And then there's this danger that, people talk of publish or perish. Yes, for promotion and things like that. This type of psychological standing affects researchers, because people will be rushing, and in that rush they will publish. Their findings will be convoluted because they are in a hurry to publish so that they will not perish. I have had time to talk to some young researchers that, look, you don't wait for TED Fund intervention, or there's a conference coming up in June, and this is May, you've not finished, you want to quickly do it and submit. No, do your research, take your time to do your research, so that whenever a journal is up, or a conference is coming up, or TED Fund, whatever, at least you've done your work within a good time. So while trying to avoid the publish or perish culture, you should please take your time to do the right thing. Otherwise, if you rush, it will affect your findings. As I said, if you are communicating to non-experts, you should please simplify technical terms and avoid jargons that will just confuse people. Somebody was presenting to, some people, local people, and he was using terms the findings are the frequency of utilization of the conveniences is. The people are, what is this man saying? You are not understanding what he's saying. The simple thing, what this means is just asking what is the number of times? I mean, the number of times people use the toilet is so. But he was using big grammar they were not understanding what I saying. So when communicating your findings, know your audience and communicate to them such that they will understand. Another example is instead of simply saying two particles are connected, will have solved this problem. Sure. Sorry. Oh, have I been off? Oh my God. Sorry, have I been off all this while?
No, we are listening. We are here.
Director.
We are hearing you, sir.
Wow.
Hello, sir. He's but we can hear you.
Yeah, but the slide is not there, right?
Yes.
Are you still seeing my slide? Is my slide visible?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay, yeah, instead of using, complex words, use simple terms that people understand. Okay, one of the pitfalls you will also avoid is misrepresentation of findings. When you present your findings so that it will lead people to incorrect conclusions, because of course people will use your findings to arrive at a conclusion. So if you misinterpret your findings, it will lead people to where they are not supposed to be. So it's very important that your findings presentation should be devoid of misrepresentation, or bias. When you have either intentionally or unintentionally, you have a biased mind, it can distort your findings. It's just like this fanatical support of a football team. Somebody, like the example I've given of somebody going to Kaduna to watch Barcelona and Real Madrid. If he's a Barca fan, he's already going with a biased mind. There's no way he'll come out. The findings you'll get there that will be tilted towards some other group. So, research is supposed to be, taken with a very, very clear and unbiased mind. It's important when you are carrying out a research. Even, sometimes you cannot avoid thinking that at the end of the research, this is what I'm expecting. But don't be surprised when it comes, just like the example I gave you of that children's book. Don't be surprised when you get something different. Just follow your data. Follow your data to give you your findings. If something is coming up that is skewed from what you expect, so long as your data is correct, your objectives are clear, stick with that finding. Don't stick to bias because this is how I want my findings to be. So you begin to distort, to distort your data so that you'll have a certain type of findings. Please avoid that. Research, in fact, there's a certain flavor and sweetness you have in research when it comes to findings. When you are, one of the most interesting things in research is, in fact, analysis. When you analyze, it comes out with, very true and frank reports and findings that pleases the mind. So don't indulge yourself in trying to shape your findings to suit what you have in mind. Have a very clear mind, and it will lead you to the correct thing. Okay, another thing that we have to note is in the presentation. I'm sure you probably cannot read what I have here. This is not a PowerPoint presentation, what we have here. This is, in fact, it's not even a Power Note. It is a Word note. Because, look at the what do you call them? The fonts are too tiny. They are too tiny so when you are presenting, use the 6x6 principle. 6x6 principle means you should have not more than 6 points. That's why it is called PowerPoint. 6 points on one page, and then not more than 6 words. Of course, it's not possible to stick to it 100%, but then as much as possible, don't have a presentation of a word note like this. They will not give meaning to your presentation. Sometimes when you are presenting, when the audience looks at your slides, they get pissed off because they are not getting any meaning out of it. Presentation are supposed to be used two of your senses. Your eyes are looking at the PowerPoint, and your ears are hearing what is being said, and then you marry the two. When it is just one, it diminishes the intensity of the flavor of your presentation. So use the 6x6 principle, 6 points, and as I said, let it not be far from this. The font size is important so that people will be reading. And then limitations. There's no research that does not have limitation. You can't say your research will solve the whole problem no. It's very important in research findings reporting to state the limitation of your research, that this research result contextually affects so area, or it is taken in this so area. It doesn't affect areas out of this. It is good to address some limitation, and it shows your honesty. And then whoever is listening to you will know that, okay, what this guy is saying relates to a particular scope, not somewhere else. If somebody wants to increase the scope, he can use, that's why in methodology it is said that you must show your step-by-step methodology, so that if somebody wants to replicate your study, he can follow that. Probably he will get the same result, or you've got something different. But then it is important you contextualize your research to a particular scope so that audience will know where you are coming from and where you are going to. Limitations are very important. Now, the application of why, remember when I say the importance of research findings? Researches, if they do not solve world problems, or if they do not lead to some guiding decisions, will not be seen as a very good research. When you research it, that's why they ask for contributions to not reinvent the wheel. What somebody has done, then you keep on saying the same thing. No, bring something new. Something new should come out of your research. So research findings, I've seen research findings that when it was done, it was taken to one of the ministries and it was used as a guiding decision because it is based
Ismail Rabiu. Mashhuda, please, you are making noise. Mashhuda, please, you are making noise.
Okay. So your research findings should lead to something that influence policies. You see, the presentation by Dr. Mubarak Kesiri, you see all these people that give grants. It's not that they have too much money that they just want to waste. No, it is, you know, a professor could be given millions of dollars to undertake a particular research by a manufacturing company because they want to find out it will help them in solving a problem ultimately in the sales of whatever they are selling. So these grants are meant to come up with a rigorous, you know, procedure in the research so that something will come out of the research. Sometimes it may not come out the way they had expected, but at least it will solve a problem. So it's very important that when you do research, something should come out of that research that will guide decision, influence policies, or even future researchers. Like in healthcare, you know, new researchers could lead to new treatments. So when this COVID, some of us don't even believe that it was, but for those that believe anyway, you know, so the researchers were undertaken. I don't know why in Africa we are unable to do that, but researchers were taken and were done and new treatments emanated, you know. So research findings can lead to, you know, new and improved ways of looking at the health of people. And, you know, like in some journals, they will insist that you give recommendations for further studies in the area you've discussed. So research findings can lead to further studies because you cannot deceive yourself to think that you'll be able to solve everything. No, it's not possible. Do the best that you can, and then somebody will build upon what you've done. That's why, as I told you, it is called research. Research. Somebody has done the research. No matter the field you come up with today, somebody will have done something on that aspect. So you build upon what had been done. In conclusion, sorry I've taken so much of your time. In conclusion, the knowledge that is gained from the research should help to improve real world situations, please. It shouldn't be hypothetical, or it shouldn't be something that is obscured, or something that you cannot, something in abstract that cannot lead to solving, you know, some real life world solutions. Somebody was talking about that you're talking about science, and a social scientist said some of the problems you have even in your science researches is because you've not used social sciences to garnish your researches. Some of the things you are seeing as, you know, positivists, just very strict ways of doing things. There are flexible ways that social scientists will have addressed that issue. It's not every problem that is solved scientifically. Some problems are better solved, you know, using some other social science means of addressing the situation. So it is good sometimes. Some of us advocate for, you know, triangulation, using different means to arrive at a solution. Maybe you want to go to Kaduna, some will take the train, some will go by flight, some will go by road, some can even walk. Each of the methods have its advantages and disadvantages, and but ultimately you are going to Kaduna. Practice steps or strategies to address specific problems or enhance exam practices. You can improve on what exists or bring something new that at least should help improve the status quo. Thank you for listening, but please, you need to there are further reasons that you need to do. I had wanted suggestions from materials, but as I said, I'm on transit. I'm at UK now, presenting, and I hope to move to Zaria immediately after this presentation. Thank you for listening. Hello, Director. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you
for this insightful and impactful presentation. I believe my fellow participants will agree with me. Doctor has done a marvelous justice to these very two topics. And, we pray to Almighty Allah to increase his knowledge, health, that you can be able to advance the frontier of knowledge. Participants, please, if you have a question yes, you just raise up your hand, and then you now forward your questions. Mala Nura Usman, sai ka bayyana nan kuma.
I know. Did you see? I've not checked again. I've not checked again. I'm on this training something.
Pardon?
Nothing. Yes, they put my name inside it.
Please, who is talking? Who is talking? If you have, just address the facilitator, please. Address the facilitator, please.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Do this thing.
Anybody with questions, contributions?
No, but that guy.
Pardon? Please address the facilitator, please. Who is that one is saying that guy? Okana, Suleiman, Abba, Doctor.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
You're welcome. Yes. Any question for the doctor?
I just want to appreciate him for the time he has given us. His teaching has been so insightful, as you have said. I've learned things I think might otherwise have taken me years to gather in other sources. I really appreciate it, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you very much, Salama Haruna. I can see my yaya is here. Marab Awal Abdullahi. Any word? Najatu? Yes.